There is nothing. Only warm primordial blackness.
You know, somewhere out there, a millennial's nipples just got rock hard. 2019 had several highly anticipated AAA releases like Sekiro Shadows Die Twice, Jedi Fallen Order, Resident Evil 2 Remake, Kingdom Hearts 3, and the highly respected masterpiece, Untitled Goose Game. So, it's no wonder I hadn't heard of Disco Elysium, a point-and-click murder mystery RPG adventure created by Zaum? Z-A-U-M? Zaum Industries, we'll go with that. Yes, they still make point-and-click adventures to all you putt-putt fans out there. Disco Elysium steers clear of conventional, combative, and action-packed adventures. Instead, it focuses heavily on player choice, interactive stages, and in-depth world building. Disco Elysium received overwhelmingly positive reviews from both critics and gamers. It was so well received that it won Best Narrative, Best Independent Game, Best Role-Playing Game, and Fresh Indie Game at the 2019 Game Awards. Lucky for me, I got to experience the Final Cut Edition, a 2021 re-release that includes extra quests and voice acting for all of Disco Elysium's cast of characters, including our protagonist's inner monologue. And with that, I think it's best to jump into the premise. You play as an amnesiac detective who doesn't know why he's there, where he lives, or even his name. He doesn't even remember that he's a detective on a case until he meets his partner, Lieutenant Kim Katsuragi. The two have been assigned to work on a murder case that occurred in the courtyard behind the hotel. The hotel is in the district of Martinez, the poorest area in the city of Revachol. Although crime and vandalism are unusual, it's apparent that this murder occurred at one of the worst times. Tensions are high in Revachol since the Dockers Union has been on strike for the last couple of months, and negotiations with their company, the Wild Pines, have been at a standstill. The locals hate you, and the official sent from the Wild Pines doesn't view you as professional. Despite the cold reception, it's still up to you to solve this mystery of the Hanged Man. If you want to do yourself a favor, play with a mouse and keyboard. You can try with a controller, but it's super awkward and not very intuitive. You can move around with W, S, A, and D, use the mouse to either interact with objects or people, and with the right mouse button, you can scan the area in case you missed any items, and you're going to want to investigate every nook and cranny of this city. When creating your character, you can select pre-made archetypes that focus skill points on either a scholarly build, an empathetic build, or a brutish build. If you don't want to be locked into a specific type of character, you can create your own skill tree layout. I had decided to create my own character tree that was overall pretty balanced. The more skill points you put into a skill, the more opportunities you have into leveling up a sub-skill within that skill branch. When interacting with people or objects, at some point during the dialogue tree, you will come across a white or red check. The more skill points you have in that applicable sub-skill, the more likely you are to succeed in passing that check. To pass either type of check, you need to roll 2 6-sided dice to either equal or exceed the value of that check. To better your chances, your character can also wear different articles of clothing that can either boost or lower your stats. In certain cases during your investigation, gathering more information or evidence from either people or crime scenes can boost your chances as well. If you fail a white check, you can come back when you level up and put a skill point in that specific sub-skill. Red checks are a bit riskier as they can only be attempted once. If you're afraid you won't remember all the instances where you had conversations with white checks, don't worry about it. There's a world map that will keep track of the white checks, and you can try again after you've leveled up. When interacting with people or objects, you will need to worry about your health or morale. Your character loses health when getting into any physical altercations.
Oh god, wrong move.
Yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. Your character's morale bar is damaged when your character suffers any emotional damage. This can happen when someone makes a counter-argument to your character's train of thought, insults your character, or if your character gets embarrassed. Health and morale can be healed at any point during these encounters. You can easily stock up on supplies either from exploring the areas around you or buying them from the local pharmacy. Lastly, you have your partner, Sergeant Kim Katsuragi. He follows you around and assists you in solving either your main case or secondary missions that you decide to pick up. He provides additional insights when talking with people or examining crime scenes, although there are times you need to be sneaky and do things behind Kim's back. To do this, you need to go back to your room after 1900 hours and tell Kim that you're going to bed. Then you can party and take all the drugs you want. Just don't get caught. I highly recommend that you buy this game. Steam had the final cut on sale, and in my opinion, it was a steal. Disco Elysium was easy to pick up and become obsessed with thanks to its gameplay naturally encouraging my curiosity and the need to explore. On the first day, the chances of passing most of the white checks you encounter are low or middling. If you fail a white check, this doesn't hinder your gameplay experience or story progression. You play as a detective, so when you hit a dead end with a suspect during your first encounter, you can further investigate other areas on the map or interview other people. This not only levels up your character, but builds a case that can break down a difficult suspect's defense. Honestly, there was nothing more satisfying than seeing all the positive modifiers that increase my chances of beating a legendary level white check. This incentive to explore organically taught me about Revachol's history and lore as I spoke with locals and bureaucrats alike. This lets you play the game at your own pace and piece together how the suspects are connected to the murder and how they relate to each other. The voiceover in the final cut are well acted and bring to life the characters' portraits and doll-like physique in the game engine.
Excellent, Mr. Dubois. I can see that you are a reasonable man.
The Coppernado is back. What do you want?
I could perfectly visualize all the minuscule mannerisms, facial expressions, and gestures from these characters when I heard their voice, which helps when you want to press for further information or get a confession out of someone.
Damn, that's just about your favorite topic, isn't it? Every fucking 5 seconds.
He's angry because he knows you're right. What he's saying only confirms your theory.
Pacing is generally laid back and steady when you're investigating, but when you hit the highs, your heart rate is pounding. There aren't many physical encounters with enemies in this game, but it's thrilling and it fits the story perfectly. There are only a few things that I didn't like too much about my experience playing through Disco Elysium. There is a lot of text to read if you don't want to hear every line to be delivered by the voiceover. Sometimes a character would have too much to say and I would want to skip over so I could get back to either a side mission or the main story. Now, this didn't happen too often for me, and when I did skip dialogue, I didn't miss out on anything essential. You also may want to be careful when leveling up a sub-skill. If you max out a skill and fail a white check, you can unlock this white check for the rest of the game. If you want to be careful, you can quick save and reload the file to try again. And lastly, you're going to encounter a lot of loading screens. At one point, I was running up and down a building to talk to 2 suspects during the main story. This required me to go through 3 separate loading screens to reach each person multiple times. The loading screens didn't ruin the pacing of the story, and thankfully this was the only occasion when it started getting on my nerves. Anyway, there's a lot of replayability with Disco Elysium. It's clear from my one playthrough, choices you make can change how the story concludes and what people think of you. Chances are I missed some side missions and character interactions. I'm glad to have stepped out of my comfort zone and experienced a carefully fleshed out world and crafted story. With a sequel in the works, I can't wait to see more of Revachol and the detectives who roam the streets and alleyways solving one case at a time. I give Disco Elysium, the final cut, a 9 out of 10. Hey everybody, thanks so much for sticking around to the end of this video. Please leave a like, a comment, and subscribe and hit the notification bell for when I have new content coming out. Hopefully I'm going to be making some new artwork for the channel, as well as making up a Twitch account, depending on what kind of feedback I get from people. If you want to follow my other content, I have an Instagram as well as a TikTok account so you can see what happens behind the scenes, as well as me just kind of fooling around while I'm in between making videos. Anyway, really appreciate the support, so I'll see you guys next time.